Oh, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the show, the RR Show, the best show on the internet. I'm Andy, and today I am taking you into r/PettyRevenge. We got a lighter one today after doing Glitch in the Matrix and Let's Not Meet, so no blankie required today. Just grab your tea and your popcorn, because our first story is from Chaotic Thorking Good. Don't assume others speak Spanish. So, I'm a bridal stylist. I help people find their wedding gown. I love my job, and 99% of the time, it's a happy, wonderful job with great co-workers and customers. Then, there's the 1%. I had a bride today who was very sweet, but just didn't connect with the gowns we had. That's okay, it happens sometime. She was fine, but her mum, and somehow it's always the mum or the aunt, was decidedly not happy and decided to shit-talk me in Spanish the whole time. Does this woman know what she's doing? She's pulling nothing but ugly gowns. Said gowns were selected by the bride. I hope you don't ever get as fat as her. And so on. Lovely. Now, I might well be whiter than a jar of mayonnaise, and I don't necessarily look like I speak Spanish. However, my parents are from Spanish-speaking countries, even though they're not ethnically Hispanic. I knew a lot more as a kid, but I still know enough to get around. So, I waited until the end, and as they were leaving, I said, I hope you have a great day. Please feel free to come back anytime you like. We have lots more gowns you can go through if you'd like, in Spanish. To the bride and her mum, and oh man, you know how good it feels when you're in a fuck ton of pain and the doctor finally gives you something that works and you're suddenly not feeling pain anymore. Or when you're craving the hell out of a specific flavor of ice cream and you finally manage to find it. Yeah, seeing the look on the bride's mum's face when she realized I had heard and understood the entire hour of her ripping me to shreds. It was so much better. Yeah, I have way too much anxiety about this happening. I would never ever shit-talk anyone in public, even if I was 99% sure they didn't speak the language I was shit-talking them in. There's always a chance, and that's enough to stop me from saying dumb shit. Our next story is from DIY Lion. They didn't honor their reservations, so... A few months ago, I volunteered to plan my mother-in-law's 60th birthday and my father-in-law's 64th birthday, which was a weekend in wine country. I had made a reservation for a group of 10 at a new upscale restaurant months beforehand. Because it was also a winery, we arrived 2 hours early and checked in with the restaurant to see if they could seat us earlier. Despite an empty restaurant, they said they couldn't. And that was no big deal, as we understood they could be low-staffed. So we went and got some wine and hung out and listened to live music. Close to our reservation time, I got a text from the restaurant to be seated. It was just beginning to rain. We walked over to the hostess. She informed us that because it was raining and because our tables was outdoors, that they would not be able to seat us tonight. As calmly as I could, I explained to them that I have had a reservation for months. I've been here for 2 hours, and I was not told that my reservation was for an outdoor table or subject to rain. There was no indoor or outdoor option when I booked. I explained to them that it was for a 60th and 64th birthday party. I asked if they could split us up between tables, and they just kept saying that there was nothing they could do and that it wasn't their fault because we can't control the weather. I snapped a little and said sharply, well, what you could have done was not reserved a table to a large party that you could not guarantee. The manager just shrugged. We left, and because it was Saturday at 6 p.m, there was no way we were getting a seat at another restaurant. I had to go to the grocery store and cook a full meal for 10 people. I emailed the manager to ask them if there was anything they could comp because our experience was so terrible. I got no response after a week. So I made multiple Gmail accounts and left what was a fairly new restaurant 10 different 1-star reviews. In the reviews, I said you should never book this restaurant if you have a large party, how they did not try to find us a table at another restaurant, how they had 2 hours to fix their error, that they booked out a table that they could not guarantee, and that they didn't move a table undercover, which there was plenty of. Provide any comps or otherwise make any attempt to fix the error. They ended up with a 2-star drop in their Google rating because of my reviews. I left 1 review for every person that did not get a seat. Several days after I had posted, they reached out offering to comp a meal for my in-laws if our group took the reviews down, which I refused. Well, if you've got a second, go ahead and leave some stars for this podcast. I know you love it, so if you've got a second, leave us a review. It'll help us out. You can also check out our YouTube channel. There's some crazy stuff going on over there. Our next story is from Xbox Gamer 2122. Yes, I would like a receipt. I go to the local Salvation Army thrift store frequently to donate stuff. I just drop things off at the counter and never bother asking for the donation receipt they offer. This subreddit is my favorite, and recently I found myself thinking about petty revenges. Yesterday, I scored with a revenge that is barely petty enough to qualify. There was a table as you entered the thrift store with paperback books on it, and the sign said special 5 books for $1. I rummaged through but could only find 4 books that interested me. I took them up to the checkout desk, fully intending to pay $1 for only 4 books, even if she rung it up as 80 cents. Well, she told me it would be $4. I pointed to the sign that said 5 for $1, and she informed me in a voice that a high school librarian would have been proud of that they were $1 each, but you had to buy 5 to get the special price. So I simply walked to the table, selected a book at random to add to the 4 already on the counter. I was holding a $1 bill, but she informed me, I'm now positive she was a retired high school librarian, that it would be $1.06 because of the state tax. There was a penny jar next to her, but she didn't offer to pull 6 cents out for me. Cue my first revenge. I probably had 6 cents in my pocket or another $1 bill, but I didn't even check. I took a $20 bill out of my wallet and handed it to her. She asked me, escalating to a world-class high school librarian voice, if I had anything smaller. Oh no, ma'am. She gave me $18.94 back in change and turned away from me, not even offering to put my purchase in one of the paper bags that were stacked behind her. Cue the very petty revenge. I immediately placed the extra book on the counter and told her I was donating it, and I then asked for a donation receipt. She had no choice but to comply, fill out the receipt for my donation and sign it. The value of said donation was at 20 cents, and I didn't bother to point out that the thrift shop values the book at $1. After she gave me the receipt, I asked her very nicely if I could have one of the paper bags to carry my books out. She gave me a withering look, so I just told her to have a nice day and walked out with 4 new paperbacks. Well, if you're gonna be stupid and not employ any common sense, that is exactly what you deserve. Well done, sir. If I could rate stories, this one would get a 5-star for pettiness. Our next 5-star story, hopefully it's a 5-star story, I've not read it yet, is from Backy Tarry. Not only am I not going to fire him. Have you ever worked with someone who you know immediately is really something special? I have had a few opportunities to work with people like this, and my first thought is, I want to help this person get wherever it is they're going. I worked for a non-profit for a while after returning from the army. First day on the job, one of my peers on the leadership team pulled me aside and warned me about one of the guys on my team. Hey, you'll have to keep a close eye on Willie. He's low effort. Takes a lot of hand-holding, rubs people the wrong way, and honestly, we're considering firing him. Oh, okay, thanks for the heads up. You never know what you're getting into in a new position, so I appreciate having the info. Fuck, what have I walked into? But then I started working closely with Willie and made some discoveries. Sure, Willie was an introvert, kept to himself and could be a touch socially awkward, but he knew his job inside out. He managed my department's logistics requirements precisely. We always had what we needed, but never too much static stock on hand. He found innovative ways to work with our community partners. He built new initiatives that capitalized on existing resources without incurring additional costs, a very important skill to have in a nonprofit. He impressed donors so much that he actually convinced them to contribute significant sums in support of his additional duty department. He wasn't even part of the fundraising team. Willie was a quiet rock star, and I quickly realized how lucky I was to have him. Despite all this, the rest of the regional leadership team seemed to have it in for him. I found out later what it was that set them off. Willie had made an offhand comment to Jane about a year before I joined. Nothing sexist or bad, just a casual observation about a physical aspect of the office space that Jane interpreted poorly. She shared it with the other leaders in the org. They decided that the comment made their teeth itch, and it became a snowball that quickly rolled over Willie's reputation. The comment was relayed to me by a third party a few months after my arrival. I went and talked to Willie about it directly. I wanted to get his take. Our discussion revealed that it was totally innocuous, but misinterpretations had caused a misunderstanding and the damage was done. Rather than asking questions of Willie to clarify, they assumed a bunch of shit and just ran with it. The stage was set, and Willie had realized that he didn't have a future at our location. Leadership had made up their minds about him and were actively blocking his options when they learned about any moves he was trying to make. I knew of at least 3 instances where they torpedoed his chances for interviews at other nearby locations in the organization, tripping him before he even got out of the gate. Willie knew if he was going to advance, it was going to be somewhere else. He started looking for new work, and he eventually found something at another branch of our organization in a different state. He kept it very quiet, got the interview, and the other region was assessing the different candidates. The only other person in our region who knew about it was me, and that was only because I'd spent months gaining Willie's trust. He knew he could confide in me, and I wouldn't shit on him. Around that time, Jane hit me up again about Willie. "I'm amazed by the changes in Willie since you came on board. You've really done a lot to mentor him and get him up to his full potential." I have done a lot of work where Willie's concerned. Some of it was helping him with professional development, but most of it has been focused on shifting the leadership team's perspective. He's really not that different from when I arrived, but as you just indicated, your perception of him has definitely changed. I've put a lot of effort into just letting him shine, giving him credit for the good things he's done, and staying out of his way. He didn't need micromanagement, he needed room to run. Every time he achieved something, I made a point of highlighting his success and the benefit it brought the organization. The work I did wasn't on him, it was on you. Back to Willie, I asked if he wanted me to go back for him in the hiring process with the other region. He said he'd appreciate the help, so I called the manager at the other location and told her, "I don't want to lose Willie, but all the reasons why I want him to stay here are the same reasons why you need him there. The problem is, if Willie stays here, the organization is going to lose him because they won't promote him. I'd rather have him stay with the organization in a different place than lose his commitment and skills entirely." She hired him, of course. It was all him. Skills, experience, interview. She knew she was getting someone amazing. My recommendation was just the icing on the cake. Made it easier for her to decide what she already knew. Willie's taste of sweet, sweet revenge came when the leadership team had to eat crow as they congratulated him on his move. Willie knew this team of leaders had put a lot of effort into making sure he'd never advance. Some of their congratulations were less genuine, including Jane's. The cherry on top was that the pay and position at the new job was half a step above mine and the rest of the leadership team. That's right, he moved on, he moved up, and he outranked us all. The most excellent FU to the folks who had stood in his way.